You are listening to the Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
You know what I realized this morning while I was just standing there waiting for the kettle to boil? My entire waking routine has completely shifted over the last couple of years.
Let me guess. You are checking to see if the bots are still working.
Yeah, exactly. I am checking on my agents. It used to be I would roll over, maybe check the weather, see if anyone sent a text, or just doom scroll for 5 minutes to wake up.
Right. The old routine.
Yeah, the old routine.
Yeah.
But now there is this very specific, this low-level hum of anxiety the second I open my eyes. It is what everyone is calling token anxiety.
It is a very real thing. I hear it everywhere.
I was at a drinks thing the other night, and I swear to you, 3 different developers left early. And not because the conversation was rubbish or they were bored.
They had to go check the log.
They had to go home and monitor their agent progress. It is like having a digital Tamagotchi that also happens to run your entire business backend.
It is a fascinating psychological shift.
Yeah.
Because we have moved from the fear of missing out, FOMO, to the fear of the machine stopping.
Spot on.
And frankly, considering what we are going to look at today, I reckon that anxiety is probably justified. We are looking at a complete software shakeout.
That is exactly the mission for this Founder Friday. We are going to unpack the new rules of the game for founders right now. Because if you look around, the board has completely changed while we were sleeping.
It really has.
We have got AI startups hitting valuations that usually take a decade. We've got a massive crash in traditional software seats. And we have got Kiwi founders selling tracksuits to make millions. It is all connected, and that is what we are going to explore.
It is a bit full-on when you look at it from a high level. It really is a case of the ground shifting beneath our feet, and I think the speed is the first thing that jumps out at you. If we look at the data on valuations, it is just startling.
Yeah, let us unpack that speed first.
Right.
Because I saw some numbers recently that absolutely made my eyes water. We are seeing AI startups hitting that magical $1 billion valuation mark in record time.
That is right. Historically, if you look at the last decade or so of tech, the average time for a startup to reach a $1 billion valuation was about 7 years.
Right. It was a marathon.
Exactly. You built, you scaled, you refined. It took heaps of time. Now, the average for AI startups is 3.4 years.
3.4 years. That is less than half the time. That is absolutely bonkers. But I have to ask, is that real value we are looking at? Or is that just investors tripping over themselves to deploy capital because they are terrified of missing the next OpenAI?
Look, it is a mix of both, but the liquidity suggests it is very real. And this is the part that most people miss entirely. We usually look at IPOs as the finish line.
Yeah. Ringing the bell on Wall Street.
Right. But the secondary market, where employees and early investors sell shares before the company goes public, that has absolutely exploded. We saw volume hit $3.5 billion just in the secondary market for AI companies recently. That is up 75% year over year.
So people at companies like Cursor or Perplexity or 11 Labs, their employees are not waiting for that big public listing.
They are cashing out now. In the old world, you were paper rich and cash poor for a decade. You were totally locked up. Now the liquidity event happens while the paint is still wet on the office walls.
Which is incredible for them.
It is, but, and this is the really critical question, if everyone is getting rich and these companies are massive, why does the actual public market, the IPO market, feel like an absolute ghost town?
That is the thing I do not get. If the valuations are there and the money is real, why aren't we seeing public listings every single Friday? Where is all the talent actually going?
They are disappearing into the dark. We are in the middle of a massive Acquihire wave. If you look between 2020 and 2025, there were 5,700 AI acquisitions.
5,700. That is a staggering number of companies that's being swallowed up.
It is huge. But here's the statistic that actually matters. 79% of those deals never disclosed a price.
Wait, why hide it? If I am a massive company like Accenture or Apple, and I just bought a hot new startup, I want to issue a press release and brag about it to my shareholders.
Not if the price per head creates a total revolt in your current workforce.
Oh, I see.
See, these are not really product acquisitions most of the time. They are just buying the brain power. Accenture bought 21 AI companies. Apple bought 17. They are sweeping up talent, and the price for that talent is skyrocketing. The 75th percentile deal size has tripled to $248 million.
$248 million. So they're paying $250 million, mostly just to get 50 or 60 really smart engineers into their building.
Correct. And think about it. If they announce they just paid $4 million per engineer, their existing staff goes on strike straight away, and the broader market starts panic pricing every other startup out there.
It sets a terrifying benchmark.
Exactly. So they do it quietly. It is a silent consolidation. The headline is not the IPO anymore. It is the quiet absorption of genius into the incumbents.
Which makes total sense and explains why it feels like the big tech companies are just getting bigger while the middle of the market is hollowing out. But that money, the billions that Apple and Microsoft and Amazon are spending on this talent and the infrastructure, it does not just appear out of thin air.
No, it certainly does not. It is a zero-sum game when it comes to enterprise budgets. And this is the absolute elephant in the room for every single B2B founder right now.
We are seeing a massive budget reallocation.
Huge. The hyperscalers, the Googles and Amazons, they are sending roughly $470 billion on AI infrastructure this year alone.
$470 billion, that is the GDP of a mid-sized country just going into server farms and chips.
It is astronomical. And chief information officers, the CIOs, they are funding this by raiding their traditional software budgets. For years, we talked about AI killing software by writing code better than humans. But the real threat is not code replacement. It is headcount replacement.
And if you replace the headcount, you kill the seat-based pricing model.
Exactly.
Let us really drill into this.
Yeah.
Because the per-seat model has been the holy grail of SaaS for 20 years. You hire a salesperson, you buy them a Salesforce seat. You hire a designer, you buy them a Figma seat. It was a beautiful, predictable revenue engine.
It was perfect. But what happens when you have 10 AI agents doing the exact work of 100 junior sales reps? You do not need 100 Salesforce seats anymore. You might need one seat for the human manager to oversee the bots.
Right.
The fundamental unit of the SaaS economy, which is the human employee, is being consolidated.
So if you are a founder out there listening to this, and you are building a B2B tool right now, you should be pretty terrified of selling seats.
You need to be very careful. There is a framework for this that I think is really useful. It is called durable versus vulnerable. You need to look at your product and honestly ask yourself which bucket you fall into.
Okay, let us break that down for the listeners. What makes a piece of software durable in this crazy environment?
Durable software is in the path of doing actual work. Think about systems like CrowdStrike, Stripe, Shopify. These are platforms that execute critical functions like security or payments or commerce.
You cannot replace Stripe with a chatbot because Stripe is the plumbing. It actually moves the money from point A to point B.
Precisely. You cannot argue with the plumbing. If it does the work, it stays.
So what is vulnerable then?
Vulnerable software is anything that just generates paperwork about work.
Ouch. Paperwork about work. That sounds like half the tools I use every single day.
It is a harsh reality, but look at the data. Tools like DocuSign, Monday.com, even Zendesk to an extent, these platforms largely exist for humans to document what they are doing so other humans can read it and approve it.
So it is just workflow coordination.
Exactly. But if an AI is doing the work itself, it does not need to fill out a status update on Monday.com to prove to a manager that it did it. It just executes the task.
So the middle management layer of software is getting squeezed out, just like the middle management layer of human workers.
That is exactly what is happening. We call it the scary middle. Companies like Atlassian, Salesforce, HubSpot. Now, they are not going to die overnight. They have massive data moats and huge cash reserves, but their growth is eroding fast because their pricing model is inextricably tied to human headcount.
Right.
The era of easy sauce, where you could just build a really nice interface on top of a database and charge $20 a month per user, that era is over.
That is a very sobering thought for a lot of people building right now. The 0 to 1 phase for founders used to always be about adding features to justify the price. Now it sounds like it's basically a subtraction problem.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. You are not adding features anymore. You are removing difficulty. You are removing the steps entirely.
But there is a huge paradox there. If you remove the difficulty entirely by using AI to just do the task, you might find you have removed the need for your own product interface entirely.
Which leads us directly to the next logical problem. If the humans are not buying the software seats because the robots are doing the actual work, who is buying the software?
This brings us to the agent economy.
Yeah.
I find this absolutely fascinating. To understand where this is going, we actually have to take a step back to 1997.
1997. We are going back to the dial-up era.
We are. We need to talk about web protocols
Huh.
because everyone knows HTTP 404, right? Page not found.
Oh yeah, a classic. Usually accompanied by a broken link and a lot of frustration.
Well, there's another status code that has been reserved in the fundamental architecture of the web since 1997, but it has barely been used. HTTP 402.
402. I do not think I have ever actually seen that one in the wild.
Most people haven't. It stands for payment required. The original architects of the web, guys like Tim Berners-Lee, they envisioned that eventually browsers would need to make micropayments or handle transactions natively right there in the protocol.
That is amazing foresight.
They built the slot for it. But the infrastructure just was not there. The digital wallets, the crypto, the basic trust mechanisms, none of it existed. So for nearly 30 years, HTTP 402 just sat there gathering dust in the documentation.
And you are saying AI agents are finally the key to unlocking this built-in payment layer.
They have to be, because agents do not browse the internet like you and I do. They do not window shop or get distracted by banner ads. Agents collapse transaction costs to near zero. Think about how you buy something online today.
It is a lot of steps.
Exactly. You click around, you read 3 different review sites, you compare prices, you go find your physical credit card, you type the numbers in. It is high friction.
It is a massive chore.
But an agent can discover a service, negotiate the best price via an API, and execute the payment in a single round trip in milliseconds. The web was originally built for human browsing, but this next layer we are seeing emerge is being built purely for agents buying,
We are rapidly moving toward a world where your software sells directly to another piece of software.
which is terrifyingly efficient. But it must completely break how you market your product. I mean, you cannot exactly charm an algorithm with a flashy billboard or a funny Super Bowl ad. An agent does not care what your brand colors are.
You really cannot. Marketing to bots is a completely different sport. We are already seeing data showing that 87% of B2B buyers are using chatbots for research before they even visit a company website.
Let that sink in. So before they even talk to a human sales rep, they have already asked an AI to tell them who is the best CRM for a mid-sized logistics company.
Yes, and the AI just tells them. And that means citations are the new currency. If you are not the recommended answer by the AI model, you effectively do not exist in the market. We are projecting that LLM traffic, which is traffic generated by large language models seeking out answers, will soon completely overtake traditional search traffic.
So if a founder is listening and their entire growth strategy is based on SEO and getting humans to click blue links on Google,
They are optimizing for a dying behavior. You need to be optimizing for LLM trust. You need to figure out how to get your white papers, your API documentation, and your positive customer reviews deep into the training data of these models so they cite you as the ultimate authority.
it is a total flip. You go from asking, how do I get a human to click this link, to asking, how do I get a robot to cite this fact?
And that shift alone is going to leave a lot of traditional marketers and founders completely behind.
Okay, this is all sounding a bit dystopian. We have got robots buying from robots, humans getting consolidated out of their jobs, developers having panic attacks at parties. Let us cleanse the palate a bit. Let us look at some humans who are actually winning right now by doing things completely differently.
I love this transition.
Because you sent me this story about some Kiwi founders recently that I absolutely loved. It is the perfect counterpoint to all the bot talk.
The tracksuit story. It is incredible. It really highlights everything we just discussed by showing the exact opposite approach.
So for the listener who's not heard this yet, there's this company called Tracksuit, founded by a couple of blokes from New Zealand. They looked at the market for brand tracking.
Which is traditionally a very boring, very expensive, very legacy industry. You have big companies paying McKinsey types or massive research firms $200,000 just to survey people and find out if the public recognizes their logo.
Right. High cost, high friction, very consultant heavy. So these Kiwis, they look at that and go, yeah, no, we can do better than that. But here is the thing I love. They did not go out and raise a massive Series A immediately to build some complex AI swarm. They built a simple, white-labeled Power BI dashboard.
It was a minimum viable product in the absolute truest sense of the term.
And they flat out refused to build anything more complex until they had 10 paying beta customers using it. But here's the real genius part, the tracksuit theory.
This is an absolute masterclass in human psychology.
Instead of sending out cheap plastic pens or stickers or those awful foam stress balls that every single SaaS company sends you when you sign up, they actually manufactured high-quality gray tracksuits, matching track pants and hoodies. And they sent them to their early customers. not as cheap merch, but as a genuine premium gift.
And because they were actually high quality and comfortable, people actually wore them around the house and to the gym.
They did not just wear them, it became a whole status symbol. Suddenly, you have these very serious marketing managers and CMOs posting photos of themselves on LinkedIn wearing these gray tracksuits. It created this massive organic flywheel. People wanted to buy the software just to get on the exclusive list to get the tracksuit.
It is brilliant because it leveraged human vanity and community belonging in a way that software alone simply cannot do. You cannot get an AI agent to post a thirst trap in a gray tracksuit on LinkedIn.
Well, I mean, you can generate the image using Midjourney, but it does not have the soul. This does not mean anything.
Exactly. It does not carry the social signal that a human being does. And the result speaks for itself. Tracksuit reached $42 million in annual recurring revenue.
42 million. By selling cheaper, more accessible data and giving away really comfy pants.
It proves that even in an age of AI and hyper-automation, understanding human psychology is still a massive competitive advantage. If everyone in your sector zags toward cold efficiency and bot marketing, there is huge value in zigging toward the tangible and the human. We see a very similar thread with Deal as well.
Ah, yes, Deal. They're another one that just defied all gravity. They were the fastest growing SaaS company ever at one point. What did they do that was so completely different from the standard playbook?
Well, if you read the standard startup playbooks, the ones written by the big VCs on social media, Deal did pretty much everything wrong. They did not hire a VP of sales early on. They completely ignored the San Francisco talent pool.
Which is usually the very first thing investors tell you to do. Move to the Bay Area, hire a seasoned sales leader who used to work at Salesforce, and scale.
Right. But Deal just ignored that advice. They heavily prioritized founder-led sales. They wanted to keep the customer context as close to the core founding team as possible. And instead of spending millions on flashy ad campaigns, they did the incredibly boring, unscalable hard work. They went out and built over 100 local legal entities around the world.
100 legal entities. That sounds like an absolute regulatory nightmare.
It was a nightmare, but that was the moat. By handling the compliance, the local taxes, the messy legal stuff of hiring internationally in all these different jurisdictions, they built a regulatory moat that is incredibly hard for anyone else to copy. An AI agent can write Python code in seconds, but it cannot navigate the local tax bureaucracy of 100 different countries.
At least not yet, anyway.
Right?
So they basically just did the hard, dirty work that other people were too scared or too lazy to touch.
They accepted that best practices are often just average practices. If you want outlier results, you often have to have the courage to ignore the standard advice.
Which brings me to the final piece of this puzzle. We have talked about the tech shifts, the money moving around, the counterintuitive tactics. But if AI can generate infinite code and infinite marketing copy and infinite sales emails, what is actually left for the human founder to do? What is the core skill you and I need to hone right now?
I think it all comes down to one word: taste.
Taste. It sounds a bit pretentious, does it not? Like we were discussing fine wine pairings or modern art galleries.
It does sound a bit lofty, but hear me out. Taste is actually becoming the most economically scarce resource we have left. Think about it. In a world where AI generates infinite output, the cost of creation goes basically to zero. But the cost of selection, the cost of knowing what is good, that goes way up.
Because you have to wade through an absolute sea of average to find the one brilliant thing.
Exactly. Taste is not just about choosing good fonts or nice colors. Taste is informed judgment. It is built through years of experience. It is composed of thousands of tiny, invisible decisions that lead to a coherent, high-quality outcome. An AI can give you 50 different options for a landing page layout, but it cannot tell you which one will actually resonate emotionally with a stressed-out parent at 2 in the morning. That requires human empathy and human taste.
So if I am a founder listening right now, and I completely buy into this idea of taste being the differentiator, how do I actually hire for it? Because putting must-have good vibes on a job description is a terrible strategy.
It really is. You need a rigorous calibration strategy. There is a specific tactic called the calibration call that I think is absolutely essential for anyone hiring right now.
Walk me through how that works.
Before you even draft the job description for a new role, let us say you are hiring a head of product, you go out and find 5 to 10 people who are already successfully doing that exact role at a company that is one stage ahead of yours. And you just talk to them.
But you are not trying to poach them or hire them.
No, not at all. And that is the key. You are just trying to learn from them. You ask them, what is the hardest part of your day-to-day job? What metrics actually matter to the board? What did you realistically get paid when you joined? You want to clearly map out what great actually looks like in that role.
That is really smart.
Yeah.
Because most founders just guess what the role needs.
Yeah.
They hire someone who talks a big game in the interview, and then 6 months later they realize the person has absolutely no idea how to execute at that stage.
And hiring on vibes is exactly how you end up with a bloated team that cannot execute. You skip the calibration step, you hire the wrong person based on a gut feeling, and it costs you an entire year to fix the mistake. In this current market, with things moving as fast as we have discussed, a year is an eternity. It is a company killer.
It really feels like we are right in the middle of a massive paradigm shift. And I know people love to throw that phrase around on LinkedIn to sound smart, but it feels genuinely tangible this time.
It is very tangible. And you have to remember, paradigm shifts always start with dissonance, not consensus. When things feel wrong or broken, like finding out there are sky-high valuations but zero IPOs, or seeing a company crush their marketing by giving away gray sweatpants, that dissonance is the signal.
It is like the whole factory is the product idea.
Right. Tesla really popularized this concept with their manufacturing, but now it applies to absolutely everything. Your competitive advantage is how fast you can move down the learning curve. If you can build the machine that builds the machine better than anyone else, whether that is an automated content machine, an AI code machine, or a highly calibrated hiring machine, you are going to win.
So let us try to synthesize all of this for the listener, because my brain is slightly melted, but in a really good way. We are looking at a world where massive money is quietly rushing into infrastructure and acquihires. We are seeing the death of easy seat-based SaaS because the bots are literally taking the seats.
Correct. And we are rapidly moving toward an agent economy where software buys from software and LLM citations are your new inbound marketing.
But at the exact same time, the human element, having distinct taste, doing the unscalable hard work like Deal did with their local entities, or just being clever and deeply human like the tracksuit guys, that is still the ultimate winning ticket.
It absolutely is. The tools we use to build companies are changing faster than ever, but the fundamental need for clear intent and human connection does not change at all.
So if you had to leave the listener with one thought to chew on after they finish this, what would it be?
I want to leave you with the core concept of intention. I truly believe the next 30 years belong to systems and founders that own shared intent. We are moving away from the era of just inputting raw data into a dumb system and hoping for the best. We are moving towards systems that deeply understand the specific outcome we want and can independently orchestrate the actions to get us there. Intention is really all you need.
Intention is all you need. I love that. I might actually print that on a gray tracksuit.
You know what? It would probably sell heaps.
Look, thanks for unpacking all of this with me. It is a completely wild time to be building a company, but it's also probably the most exciting time since the early days of the internet boom.
Absolutely. It is a great time to be a founder if you are paying attention.
And to everyone listening, go check your agents. Make sure they are still running, but maybe grab a coffee for yourself first. This has been the Vocal Technologist. We will catch you in the next one.
Spoken Tech for your ears.